Welcome back to another episode of the Triple Crown podcast. It's been a while, but you're here with your hosts, Colby Cox, Joseph Temp, and Jonah Gamble. Today, we have a very special guest. Some would say the most important player on the San Francisco 49ers, Taybor Pepper. Thanks for joining the show, man.
All
Appreciate
right.
it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, yeah.
This one's an exciting one for me because not enough people know about long snapping. I try to tell them in our shows, but we'll get
Man,
we'll get down and dirty with it though.
I'm excited to learn from two long snappers.
Facts.
Yeah.
Going to be
So we're
a lot of jargon.
so you've had I would say a journey to the NFL unlike no other. And the research that I've done, I mean, it's been quite a few teams. And actually, before we get started, Coach Brad Salem said to say hello.
Is he in? He is in Memphis,
Yeah,
isn't he?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, so he wanted to say hello, and he's told me a little bit about you. So if you could just hit on your story a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I've had a long NFL journey to get to where I am now. But I mean, I guess in general, like the long snapping story of how it kind of came to fruition was growing up. So my dad played football at University of Illinois in 89 and 90. His quarterback was Jeff George, number one overall pick. He's a good family friend of ours. And yeah, I just grew up kind of just assuming I was going to play college football. I played quarterback from like the day I started football until like seventh grade. And I told my parents, oh, it's too much pressure. So I kind of just became like a wide receiver. And then wherever the coaches stuck me on defense, I think my eighth grade year, it was like will linebacker.
Yeah.
I was never really good at it. And so like in sixth grade, football was the first year they introduced punt. So my dad taught me just take the ball with two hands and just throw it back there. Eighth grade was the first year of school ball. And I tell this story like every time I talk about how I started long snapping. So if anybody's heard me on a podcast before, they've heard this story, but like it's just so perfect how it happened because this is like the only way it happened was eighth grade. The coach was like, hey, whoever wants to be a long snapper, come over here. And there were like 10 of us, which is way more than I ever would have thought would have voluntarily signed up to be a long snapper. So he's having us line up and the other guy like 10 yards behind him. And everyone's shotgun snapping it with one hand. And I'm the only one doing it with two. And so he walks down the line and he goes, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Pepper, you're hired. Just because he saw I had two hands on the football. And after that, my mom signed me up for a long snapping camp. And after that, it was kind of just working on it and I liked it. And then getting into 10th grade, I realized I was like thinking about it. I was like, wait, how am I supposed to play college football again? Like I'm third string wide receiver, fourth string defensive end. I was like 6'3", 165 pounds, like a string bean. I was like, how am I going to do this again? Are people already getting recruited in 10th grade? And I was like, I'll stick with long snapping and I'll just take it very, very seriously. And I think most of my time in high school, I was like ranked in like the top 20. I was just still super skinny. So that kind of hindered my ranking a little bit in terms of like coaches, worried about me blocking. But my long snapping form was like the most important thing to me. So that's how I got the most speed on my snap. So, I was still super skinny my senior year, but I think I was like 6'4", 185. But I finished high school ranked at number 5 in the country and a full ride to Michigan State. So that's kind of my ride to college.
Dang.
Hell yeah.
It's crazy.
Full ride out of high school is insane. That's
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I got super lucky. I was committed to University of Michigan. I lived like 5 minutes away from Ann Arbor in high school and was committed as a preferred. And then I committed on like a few days after, or like a week or two after signing day. And then a few weeks after that, I had to go. Michigan State was like, hey, you're not signed to a scholarship. Like, do you mind coming up for a visit? And so I said, yeah, because Michigan State honestly was my first choice to begin with. And it turned out they were having some ups and downs with their long snapper and eventually kicked him off in the spring and offered me a scholarship because Coach D was like, listen, I can't ask you to come on a preferred walk on as well and just have you do like a lateral move. He was like, I need to like
Yeah.
step up the offer of what you're getting. So yeah. And man, what a great time to be a Spartan. Two Big Ten championships,
Yeah.
one of the playoff games. Yeah, it was a great time.
That's
Did
awesome.
you walk right into the starting job as a
Yeah,
freshman?
so I was supposed to be competing with a redshirt junior, and I really liked the guy, but we like go through like the beginning of summer snapping together, and we're on that little break before training camp, and I walk into the cafeteria, and our fullback was like, "What's up, Pep?" He was like, "Hey, you're the man, you're it, number one first string long snapper." And I was like kind of laughing. I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" He was like, "Oh, you didn't hear what happened to Steve this weekend?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "He was out on his boat and broke his neck diving into a sandbar,
Holy
and he was the
shit.
only other long snapper on the roster." And so like you know I'm a competitor, so like I feel like I would have won the competition anyway,
Yeah.
but I didn't have a choice. I was like the guy. Like I'm sure Coach T was like, "Oh, thank God we offered this kid," because there was no one else on the roster except for me and him. What they had to end up doing in the middle of training camp was going back on their Rolodex of long snappers that showed up to like the special teams camp in the
Yeah.
summer. And there was one kid who was a sophomore who was in Psi U, a frat on campus. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to be on the football team?" And he was like, "Sure." And he was my backup for 3 years. And
That's
it was
sick.
awesome because that was the one frat we could just walk into. It's like, "Hey, we're teammates with Leland." And they're like, "Oh, sweet, come in. Yeah." It was the best. And Leland, like, my coach got mad at me one summer, and so he made Leland start ahead of me. And I like walk into the meeting room and I was pissed. And Leland, he was like, "I don't want to be the starter." He was like, "What the hell? He's just trying to piss you off, Pep." He was like, "Don't worry about it." He was the best. He was the best.
That's awesome.
Were you at Michigan State when Taiwan Jones and Darian Harris were there?
Yep.
That's pretty crazy. Though I've known them
Darian
for
was
like 3 years now.
a captain my senior year.
Yeah. Yeah, I still talk to them. Darian went back, right? He's working there now.
Yeah, he's director of player engagement, I think. Or he's doing stuff with NIL with the athletic department now.
Yeah, and Taiwan opened up his gym.
Yeah, they're both killing it, man. It's always
Yeah.
awesome
NIL.
seeing
What do you
them.
think about all the NIL stuff?
Wish it happened a few years sooner. I can't say I'd be expecting to make six figures, but I
Yeah.
mean, I'd make a little bit of cash. A
Yeah.
little bit of
True
beer
that.
money is all I really
Yep.
needed.
Yeah, facts.
Um, it's funny because like I look back and it's like, man, what would I have done with some extra cash? And like, to be honest, like the stuff I was into, I probably would have bought some Bitcoin back, like because I went to college in 2012 through 15. I could have had like 100 Bitcoin in that amount of
Dude.
time. But that's where my mind goes. Of course,
Yeah,
everyone's like,
facts.
"Oh, if only I had known Apple was gonna like skyrocket as a stock."
Yeah.
But like, I tell myself, "Oh, if I had NIL money, I would have bought into crypto before I graduated."
And I was in college that same time, and we bought Ethereum and stuff, but I
Yeah,
sold it before it popped, and I was so mad.
dude, I bought when I was in OTAs with the Giants, I bought $25 worth of Dogecoin in the early part of 2019. And April 2021, I sold that 25 bucks of Dogecoin for like 3,100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
It was like a
crap.
25,000% increase or something crazy
That's
like that.
insane.
It's a good flip.
Statistically, the best financial play I've ever made.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I remember early college when I started like getting into Bitcoin, and then I'd be broke and I'd have to pull it all out. I'm
My
like, dude, I hope it
investment.
went up. And I'd be so broke. I'd be like, dude, it went from 300 to 240. Fuck, like I have to pull it out. Like,
That's hilarious.
But have you seen Michigan State's new facilities?
I've seen like the rendering. I think they took like a drone through there, so they showed some of the alumni. The craziest part is like when I was there, when I first got there, all of our facilities were left over from the 90s, 80s and 90s. And then I think junior, senior year, we had our stadium locker room completely redone. and then the practice facility locker room completely redone, and even most of the training room redone. And then 5 years later, they did a whole, I mean, they tore it all down and completely redid it. And it looks ridiculous now. It's really awesome. I mean, it's funny that we had that much success then and we weren't getting as much money. And then, I guess I'm thankful for Mel Tucker coming in just for the fact that he got a lot of donors excited.
Yeah.
But that's really about all he did. I think
Yeah,
he went
yeah.
to like one bowl game
Yeah.
and then really helped Michigan State out with their optics.
Yeah.
Shoot. Y'all laid the foundation for it,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
NIL's kind of changed the game though, because now it's spreading out to smaller schools. Those
Yeah.
schools are getting better players.
And then now next year, apparently they're having like revenue sharing and stuff with like Power Five schools. Like I don't even know
Yeah,
like
getting
how
cut
much
to the
money.
TV deals.
Yeah, I don't know how much
Damn.
because it's like even me, it's like this year's like the first good year of NIL where it's like, I mean, obviously like some guys were making big money last year at like big schools, but like this is the year where it's like Memphis, we got 25 million from FedEx. So it's like we're
Dude.
getting money. So it's like, yeah, like I mean, we're paying kids $250,000. Like our quarterback's getting $1 million.
It's not me.
Like,
Don't worry.
You know, you know, the funniest thing is like I try to think back to what they were saying when we were playing about why they couldn't give us money. And I hear you guys are getting that much from FedEx. It's like if only they had really known, because it sounds like there's even more money in college football now
yeah,
than there was, and people were worried that it was like going to dry out or like yeah,
nah, dude.
I think it's like a general sentiment that like I don't really like the NIL paired with how easy it is to transfer now. I'm
Yeah, I
sure
agree with
I'm
that.
sure the guys in the system probably would disagree with me, but
I
I
agree
mean,
with that.
there was something to be said about there were always a few guys who just weren't a good fit and should have
Mm-hmm.
transferred, and that
Yeah.
happens and it's unfortunate. But like the amount of movement a lot of these guys are playing three different places and four,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like that's not what college football is.
Yeah.
That's why I think people liked college football over professional sports, which like I totally identify with. I really like pro sports now just because I'm into it, but I'm like in it. But I think when I'm retired from the league, I think I'll go right back into liking college football. But I don't know now because of this NIL stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I agree because it's like, I mean, when I first got in, I've been at Memphis my whole career. I got here, I graduated early, so I got here January 2020.
Okay. Oh,
And
geez.
so,
Yeah.
you know, that's before COVID, before everything. So that's just like, you know, it was like normal.
Yeah.
So then COVID hit, everything was weird. I mean, you were playing too. Everything was weird in
Mhm.
COVID, after COVID, like, you know what I'm saying? So that changed a lot of just how everything operated as well. That's when the portal started kind of opening up more. Now you can enter it, you know, a few
Mhm.
times a year. I don't even know.
That's
So
so,
then it's
yeah.
like more people start leaving, but now it's like from last year's team to this year's team, Colby, how many people do you think we have like from last year?
55. Oh, we have 55 new transfers.
Yeah, we have 55 transfers.
That's like an NFL locker room during OTAs when
Yeah.
the roster's at like 90. Like
Yeah.
and we cut to 53 plus 12 on the P squad now, but like I now because I'm like an old vet, like I'm 7 years in now, it's like part of me hates the OTA period because like I know guys are trying to get a job and like I was there, but like there's so many people in that locker room that aren't going to be here in a few months, and it's like that's just wild to think about that every year
Yeah.
you have to worry so much more about the cohesion of the team.
Yeah, it's insane.
Um
Because
yeah,
I mean,
dude.
from my freshman class, there's 3 of us left, I think.
That's wow. That is so crazy. Because like
Yeah,
to me, when I hear that, it's like that's not college football. Like you guys are free
exactly. It's
agents
like
and you
it's
guys can make
crazy.
moves.
So
Like
it's
even the NFL, you're locked into deals. The team can cut you whenever, but
yeah.
like you're locked into a 2 or a 3 or a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's that. Now you can just be like, oh,
Yeah,
peace, they're
it's
gonna give me more
insane.
money, peace, they're gonna give me more. It's like that's
Like
wild.
there was a kid that transferred from Marshall. He was a receiver. He transferred here for a day, like didn't get like half of his money up front or whatever. So then transferred to Purdue for like a day. Same thing happened, and then transferred to UCF all in the span of like 2 weeks. And I'm like, how can you even do that? That
Everybody
doesn't
hates
even make
lawyers,
like
but
that.
like there needs to be better language in those contracts,
Yeah,
dude.
like
That's
it's
wild.
crazy.
Wasn't there some player who got like $1 million loan or $1 million advance on his contract and then went to the NFL and like they were like, you need to pay us back? Am
I
Oh
I
have,
damn, I
dude.
don't
I mean,
know.
I'm not doubting it because it's like that's what people do. Like, some guys last year here were like, there's a few guys that have done it to where it's like, okay, like I'm getting offers from these other places. Like they're saying this much money. Like, all right, like, well, it's Christmas time. I need like an upfront and I'll stay. So then it's like, they're like, no, we don't do that because people take the money and run. So then they're like, no, like, if you, I just need some money for Christmas. I got a son. I got blah, blah, blah. And then boom, give them 10 grand, hit the portal. You can't get the money back because it's NIL money because it's not. So it's like, you can't give the money back.
that is
I know they're
that's just
trying to
crazy.
cap the transfers.
They've
'Cause,
got to.
yeah,
Oh,
they're
they
trying
have
to.
to.
I know they talked about removing that second window that they have. And then
Yeah.
if they don't do that, they'll probably limit it to one or two.
Yeah.
That's I mean like even in the NFL like there was a guy from Michigan State, Malik McDowell. He was I think he was drafted first round or third round. He was a D tackle and like he got in an ATV accident the summer before training camp in that gap before training camp and like hit his head and like caused brain damage or something to where he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't play or something. And so like, you know, the team has a right to that money because of the stuff in the contracts
Mm-hmm.
and like they can get that money back. So I think they like sued him or like countersued him or something, but that's crazy that in college they can't even get that money back.
Yeah. No, they can't get
Yeah.
it back. It's like, it's insane. Like,
Do they I hope this isn't too boring. They're doing like money management like seminars with you guys,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Oh
yes.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have people coming in like
Probably not as much
all
as they should, too. I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, these guys are, there's some, I mean, they are idiots, man. Like, it's like if they're making 100 grand, they're gonna spend 100 grand this year.
I mean, I see it where we are, and like we have rookie development or whatever that's required by the NFLPA, where it's basically the same thing. And it's like you can shout at these guys till you're blue in the face. And I'll be honest, I'm guilty of spending more than I should have early on in my career. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like, uh, and that's the other thing is like, unless you want to know how to manage your money, but like again, everyone listening, I hope you can put yourself like in the shoes. And I know sometimes it's hard to sympathize with like athletes who are making a lot of money, but like a lot of these guys, quote unquote, couldn't get a job in high school because they were going to camps, they were dedicated to their craft, they're recruited, they're going on visits. Um, they don't even know how to balance getting $250 a week from their Jimmy John's job. Like they never had that experience on that small of a scale.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you have zero money management skills, you might grow up from a family who didn't have a lot of wealth, who don't know how to manage a lot of money or plan for the future or even have enough money to scrape together for bills. And then all of a sudden these kids are getting five, six, seven figures. No wonder they're going to be irresponsible. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, with what we see in the media, nobody wants to listen to boring ass dudes in suits
Yeah.
talking about 401ks and Roth IRAs and stuff. So it's a balance, but like God, the craziest part about it, when I think about it, with you guys getting this much money before you guys are even 22, is like God, I swear to God, I sound so old when I'm talking about this, but like the extra compound interest you guys could be getting from those 2-3 years
Mm-hmm.
before a lot of people even start working is actually disgusting because like
Yeah.
every year you get extra on your way to like being 55 or 65 when people typically retire. Like, shoo, don't uh, sock it
Yeah.
all away. I mean, save some and have some fun. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's actually crazy the head start some of these guys have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
that's like, well,
money
I
management
just
skills.
linked my dad to my like bank account where my NIL goes, so I'll just tell him when it's like transferring. So I'll just be like, get it out
Get it
before I
out.
can
Don't
like,
let me.
yeah, like get it out before I can even see it, dude. Like,
That's how I had to do it with my money eventually. Is I have all my checks that come in week by week from the team, and it goes straight to my money management thing, and then I have them deposit X amount every week as
Yeah.
if I was getting paid like a real
Yeah.
salary. Because it used to be the NFL, we would get paid over 18 weeks. Um, you don't get paid when you're not playing. So like if you sign for $1 million, you are making $1 million in the 18 weeks of the active season. They recently changed it and they split the checks in half, and then they do 18 weeks, and then they call them buddy weeks. So now we get paid 36 weeks out of the year. But
Oh, that's way better than.
man, when you see a check hit your account for like 20 grand every Friday, it's like, God damn, like it's hard not to be like, damn, let me go to the mall real quick.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Louis store, man. Come
Yeah.
on.
Just one thing.
Just one thing. Yeah, just get it out of my account so I can't spend it.
Yeah, you gotta have the right people or
And it
agent
helps.
or
It
team.
helps
Yeah.
having a management person where you have to draft an email to ask for your own money. Because there's sometimes where I type stuff out and I always try to give the reason why I need the money. Because if I can't bring myself to type it out to my money manager, like if I'm embarrassed by what I'm asking for,
Then you
then
probably don't need
then
it.
I
Yeah, then you
shouldn't
don't
I
need it.
shouldn't be asking for it.
Yeah.
Um, and that helps me a lot. So that's just a tip for anybody.
It's a good way to do it though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
I got a question. Other than snapping the ball, what's the technique or how do you improve on long snapping?
Um, I mean, it's a lot of mental stuff. So I'd say one of the things that helped me out the most was like, um, before I got to college, like the summer going into my freshman year, I bought like a just the most basic sports psychology book. And a lot of the examples they gave were like for golfers, which for punting, kicking, and long snapping. And now I know this because I just got into golf this summer. Is I mean, it's very, very similar. You know, you can take practice swings, but like when you get up there and you actually have to make contact with the ball, it's like all of a sudden, you know, you take
Mhm.
three pure practice swings and
Yeah.
then you set up and the ball's in front of you and your body's just like and it's like, what the hell are we doing here? It's like that's like the best explanation really for how any special teams goes. So it's really the mental side and then just getting so many reps because when I think it started clicking for me, and I think this is with anything, is like once you snap a ball, um, and you know where it's going to go like the second it leaves your fingers, that's when you can really start improving, or at least have a really good idea. And don't get me wrong, there's a few, like maybe once or twice now, it happens way less frequently, but there's like once or twice a month where I throw a ball back on a field goal and I'm like, oh God, like that was so bad. And then it happens to be perfect. And I'm like, I don't know how the hell that
Yeah.
happened. Like that
Yeah.
felt ugly, felt so ugly. But that's just what getting reps does. But yeah, I would just say the mental side. We have like a little hoop in our locker room, and like I always challenge myself, like get 3 free throws in a row. And it's just little stuff like that where it's just like you just do the same motion every single time, same power on it, same follow through, and just challenge yourself to be as consistent as possible. And don't aim. That's my number one thing is just you
Mm.
know where you're supposed to put it, so just throw it there as hard as you can.
Yeah, I try to tell everyone golf's good for whatever sport you play. Go play
Mhm.
some golf.
Yeah.
Dude, facts.
I really
Help
do
your
see
mental
myself
game.
as like a
If you want to go be
professional like
humbled.
Yeah.
free throw shooter. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be humbled or learn how to have a quick memory?
Yeah.
Golf.
And that's the other thing is I've had coaches in the NFL where like I'll step off the field and it wasn't a great snap. It like might have been right here and like a punt that's like above his shoulder a little bit. And my coach will come out, what the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to fucking kill me? Are you trying to get me fired? And it's like, dude, like you cannot honestly be acting like I had a bad snap to offend you, to piss you off. Like I'm
Like,
trying
come
my
on,
best
dude.
here. Like, dude, give me a break. And like, they'll walk down and then come back and bring it back up. And it's like, dude, I already forgot it. I can't give you that snap back. I'm sorry. You better just hope the next one's good because that's all I'm focused on. It's like there is no, other than like knowing what you need to change on the next snap, there is no reason to be, especially during a game, fretting about a snap that went bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you so obviously like kickers, like y'all are all kind of focused on your own thing, snappers, kickers. But like I know Colby tries to help kind of like our kicker, getting his kind of like headspace, just kind of chill him out, almost to where it's like you don't want him overthinking
Mhm.
anything, anything like that. So it's like I try to help too, like, I feel like the worst thing, like when we're going out to kick, everybody's like, come on, Costa, like you got this, like blah blah
Mhm.
blah. And I'm like kind of just like, hey, like just don't say anything to him.
Just don't
Like
act like
just
it.
leave him
Yeah.
alone. Like do you try to like say things to Moody to try to kind of
Uh, Last year maybe a little bit, mostly like pregame or like when
yeah,
we're on the sidelines. Like if he's in the net, like I'm absolutely not gonna bother him at all. But
yeah,
like during this, like before the Super Bowl, we were done warming up and we were like on the 50-yard line. And the kid's a rookie and he's playing in the Super Bowl. It was my first Super
yeah,
Bowl too, but like that last season was the most fun I'd ever had playing football in my entire life. And it took me 6 years in the NFL to finally get there. And so like I was playing pretty free
yeah,
of anxiety. And so like I just saw him and I'm like, and he didn't look like that nervous, but I'm like, he's probably pretty tense right now. And
yeah.
like some song was on and I was like, hey Jake. I was like, I did that like meme voice. I was like, have you ever seen anyone glitty on a 50-yard line at the Super Bowl before? And I just like hit like a 3-step gritty and like made him laugh. And I was like, that's all I really try to do is like this, just dick around a little bit.
Yeah,
Like that's not gonna take him out of any sort of focus, but it's gonna like get him out of whatever,
yeah.
if his mind was spinning. Like I'm just being
Maybe
a
just kind of help him relax a little bit.
yeah.
Like,
But I totally agree with you. Like running out for a field goal and like in those moments where like it's obviously coming down to like a last drive, we're gonna hit
yeah,
a field goal to go ahead to win or like tie it up. Like I remember in college, guys would walk up to me and like smack me on the shoulder pad, and I'm like, "Don't fucking touch me! What are you doing?" Like even now, even for an extra point, like Trent Williams is walking right past me, and like he's a great guy, great teammate, and he like puts his hand out to slap my hand, and I have to be like walk right past him like I didn't see him. I don't want you to touch my hands. I don't want you to like pat me on the back. Like I don't want any of that. Just ignore me. And like I'll see him. It happened this weekend. I'll see him and like we're making a line towards each other, and like I kind of see his arm go out a little bit, and I like look down and like look back to like look at the kicker or whatever. Like I don't give a shit where he is. Like I know he's gonna be there, but
Yeah.
I'm like just avoiding eye contact so I don't have to like slap his hand or make him feel shitty that I like swerved him or something. But yeah, I don't like when people make a big deal. Just let me go out and do my job,
dude, yeah,
and
that's
then
what I
we'll
figured.
celebrate.
I figured out with Colby too. So like everybody's always just like, yeah, like trying to dab Colby up, and I'm like, no, like, because he'll just like every time we score, he'll come out like with his right hand, he'll give me like one of these. So it's
I do this every time.
Yeah, you don't
tiny
make
little
Don't
contact
bits
with
of
the
touch
my
my
palm.
head.
None of the
Yeah.
fingers, none of the palm,
yeah,
nothing.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, like. So I know I just kind of like barely tap him, like,
Yeah.
The
but yeah,
only
I mean,
thing I will say, the only thing, and I don't need it, but like I do, I do like it at this point. When I first got to the Niners, I guess they had a thing they did where like get my feet set for field goals, and the two guards will like fist bump behind me, and then like in unison like tap my ass a little bit. But it's like so in sync. It's almost like part of my setup now when we're all together. They do it every practice field goal. They do it every extra point, every field goal, and it's like when there's new guys in at guard, like the only thing I look at the depth chart for is to see if my guards on field goal have switched. So yeah, anytime a new guard goes in that day at practice, I basically have to tell him, hey, you have to fist bump the left guard and then tap my butt. And he's like, man, what the fuck? And I'm like, ask him. And he's like, yeah. The guy who's used to it. I'm like, okay. I don't worry about it with the second string guys, but the first stringers, I'm like, you guys got to do this for me, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
obviously I know how like our like work week of like special teams goes. How does it work in an NFL? Because like we do a punt on Wednesday and field goal on Tuesday. Like y'all do everything one day or what?
So a typical week is like play Sunday, obviously. Monday is get into the building and get your lift done by noon, and then special teams meeting at like 12:30. And then that's just meetings and like going over the film from the game. Tuesday's an off day. Wednesday's morning meetings, practice, and we'll do punt and punt return, and then a field goal period during practice. And then Thursday is uh kickoff return, and then uh like 5 reps of punt, and then field goal on Thursday. And then Friday, we call it Fast Fridays. We go through everything quickly. And then Saturday is just a quick walkthrough of like exotic stuff, like just weird situations. And then game day. So yeah, we get pretty much the most reps we get of anything is punt protection for sure. It's hard in the NFL.
Yeah.
Obviously, we just got a punt
Yeah.
block this weekend, so it's hard. Was
Yeah.
not through the A gap.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
Not all that matters. Not all that matters, but how does you can't technically release until the ball's punted, right?
So you can get 2 yards down the field before 2 yards from the line of scrimmage before the ball is punted.
Do they ever really call that on a snapper?
I have gotten called for that in 2022, I think. 21.
Oh, wow.
It was 21. Yep. My heel was like, technically, if you slow-moed it, I was legal, but they weren't going to slow-mo a long snapper penalty. It's just a 5 yard at the end of the kick.
Mm.
I got a question. Have either of you either tried to hit somebody or been hit by somebody that was bad?
That long snap thing?
Yeah, or like,
Or like
after you snap it and you're just running.
just like getting your clock
Yeah.
cleaned. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My freshman year, we were playing against Nebraska at home. And I was running on the field, and like in coverage, I like went to the left a little bit and then he cut. And so I started going to the right. And if you watch the film, there was a guy who was kind of just down the middle of the field. And it like it's actually insane to think about. He must have seen that I was changing direction, and he like did this thing where he like put his hand up, like I don't know who he was signaling to, but it was like, I'm about to smack this motherfucker. He like put his hand up almost like a wrestling move, and I like go back to the right and just boom, and I was up straight, and then I was horizontal on the ground, and like I don't know if I was concussed, but the only thing, like I got hit hard enough to the point where like when I got up, I was like green sideline, go to the green sideline, and I was like, oh dude, I got rocked. That was the worst I've been hit for sure. Was freshman year, so
Colby,
at
you've
least it
been
happened
blasted,
earlier.
right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we're changing that. We're changing that this weekend though, because it's been by this team that we played this weekend. So I'm getting my lick back.
Oh,
Who do you
No.
guys got? Who do you guys got?
We got Navy.
Navy.
Those. Ah, God, dude.
Oh, there's U.S. service members. That's what you say.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah.
say.
I respect
like-
what they do. I respect what they do, but they like. I
I'm
don't
a
know
future
what it is.
U.S. Army soldier.
I don't know what they do, but like, it's just like they see a long snapper and just love it. Which I get it. I do the same
Yeah.
thing, but it's like, and then like I'm a big trash talker, which I need to chill
Oh, I
on.
like that. No,
Yes.
keep that going. I
Like-
like
like
that.
bad.
I do
You
too.
can ask
Sometimes it
Jonah.
sucks because we'll come out on PAT.
Oh, you just
I'm
rile 'em up.
dog tired, and he's like, "Yeah, suck my dick," like all this, and then of course the
I
refs
love
always
that.
don't touch the snapper. So they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, let's tee off on this idiot," and like I'm like, "Damn it."
That's hilarious.
But
That
like,
is
what
so
am I
damn
supposed to
funny.
say to a linebacker on Navy who's serving our country? Like, I get up and I'm like, "Yep, all right."
I mean, you could say some pretty messed up shit. If
Oh,
I'm
I
being
mean, I
honest,
could.
but do you want to? No.
No.
I do remember one time, one of our linebackers, he was like a really good wrestler. I think he could have wrestled like almost anywhere in the country, but he decided to walk on and play football at state. And this dude was so tough and so quick and so strong. We were running down the field on punt during practice, and I don't know what took over my body, but I saw him and I was like that running down the field and kind of clipped him a little bit. And he goes, "Oh, Pep, man, why'd you have to do that?" And I was like, "Oh no." He was doing that thing where it was like, "Come on, man, now I got to get you back. What you could have taken care of yourself. I wouldn't have to do this." So I forced his hand and he fucked me up the next play. And he was one of those guys. It was like if he told the coaches what happened and I got completely laid out, they would have been like, "Shit, shouldn't have fucked with Kyler, man." Like I totally own that one. That was just a dumb mistake.
That is the worst part about long snapping, I will say. I don't know if you agree with me. You will get blasted, like just roasted in a special teams meeting for getting laid out or like somebody blocking you, and you're like, no shit. If I
Yeah.
could get off this block, I would not be a long snapper.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. If I had the tools at my disposal to not put myself in these situations, don't you think I would have picked a different position?
Yeah. It gets me
Oh my
every time.
God. I mean, I know we shouldn't be talking like this, but I'm sure every specialist has this conversation. But we always, we were talking this weekend, the specialist, like, what is the easiest path in sports to be able to make $1 million a year? And like one of our coaches was like, "Oh, slam ball." It's like, dude, you win like $3,000 a slam ball tournament for like the nationals. So like it has to be like a big enough sport to where the sample size is really big, but like what's the easiest? And I was like, and my coach was like, "No, it's not. No, it's not." I was like, if athletes put their ego aside and decided to long snap, it's over
Yeah.
for a lot of us. But it really is an ego thing. Like there is no reason why the top tight end, linebackers, DNs couldn't be long snapping for 10, 12 years because like they have insane gifts, but they don't want to take the time to learn the form and it like might be beneath them, which like whatever, thank you. I've played for
Yeah.
7 years so far. Like I'll take it. But truly, like if people that's my thoughts on it at least.
Yeah.
You were talking about like setting up guards and like the guards always fist bumping you and stuff,
Yeah.
and how it's weird when they're not next to you. But now I feel like that with Colby or whatever because it's like I've gone down with some injuries or whatever, and I know he hates it when I come out because
Mhm.
then I'll be like, I hate PAT because it's like
Oh, they just tee
after a
off.
drive, obviously you
Yeah.
just get your face smashed after already getting your face smashed.
Just take it. That's what our
So
coach says. He goes, "You
literally,
guys just, I have so much respect for you guys. You guys just line up and you guys just take it." And
yeah,
that's the
just take it
best
in the
way to
mouth.
explain being on field goal is
Yep.
like you literally you get to put one foot in the ground real hard and like sometimes there's three guys trying to get through your gap and it's like you have
Yep.
one guy on your right arm, one guy down the middle and one guy on your left arm and it's just iron cross like
Yeah.
hold it for 1.3 seconds and we're good.
Dude, but like I like being next to Kobe too, and I've done it with him so long now that it's like the first time, like the first punt or the first PAT period of like the year, whether like
Mhm.
spring ball, whatever it was, and they're like, all right, we're doing like PAT. So then they're trying to like get the footwork or whatever. So I was spread out from Colby. So it's like his foot
Mhm.
was right here. And
Yeah.
there was probably about like this much room from my foot to his foot. And they're like, no, like interlock your feet. And I was like,
Mhm.
no, he takes a step when he gets down to the ball. Trust me, we'll be good. And he was like, y'all are losers, dude. He's like,
Yeah.
how do you know that like about each other? And then
Yeah.
he was like, do you? And then Colby like got down and then it was
Did a
perfect.
stand.
And
It's
I was
like,
like, I
yeah.
told you. Like,
Yeah. It's so funny how there's just like just small things like that. Like
and it's
I don't
only
have
his right
anything.
foot.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I have
weird.
like we all have like our different setups and like, just the routine of it is so perfect. But you don't even think about how the other guys are thinking about it.
Yeah.
And even guys who have been around for a long time, like I think it was during our first game, uh, like fourth field goal or whatever, like my left guard's foot was like right down the middle of me. And I was in the middle of like getting down. My hand was on the ball. I was like, "Hey, Burf, like move your foot." And he moved it perfectly. And it's like, I just feel like you just get to know each other, and like the mind and the bodies, like you do the routine so much, like even if they are fucked up a little bit, it's like they know how to move immediately, and like
Yeah.
they're not going to be like, wait, what do I do? Yeah, my guards on punt for they both went to Atlanta this year in the off season, but dude, I had the best guards in punt for 2021, 2, 3 for 4 years. Dude, the A gaps were so secure. Those guys were so good. We knew just perfectly how to play off of each other. If we had certain looks, I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and some I could get over to the right a little bit more, or I needed to get deeper. And like their post hand was going to protect like the A gap while I get my head up and stuff. And like it's really, really cool when you get like tight with people and players, and like your minds and your bodies are just like moving in sync during a play.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's like Colby will get down, and it's either like, hey, like we're good this week, like, or hey, get ready. It's like, hey, get
Yeah.
ready, buddy.
You're ready to eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude,
Shout out
I
Florida
pride
State.
myself on that though with PAT though. It's like because what you put on film, they're always gonna find the fish. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're gonna find the fish, and they're
That's what
gonna
they
oh
that's what
yeah
the
they're
Jets said. We had a guy go down, and we had to put our starting center out on field goal. And I guess when he was lining up for the first one that he took, they were like, he's the fish, he's the fish. And he looked at me and he goes, fuck you, I'm good at field goal. He's like, I'm not a fucking fish. And sure enough, like he was one of the better guys once he got out there. But that's funny you said that. Yeah.
yeah, because they always find those guys. So it's
Yeah.
like low key, it's been our right tackle. So through the first 2 weeks, they realize they're not getting through the A gap, at least not on
Yeah.
my side.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like, okay, but that right tackle though. They're like,
Yeah.
so last week against Florida State, they just loaded up the tackle. So I'm just like sorry, buddy. Like I'm
Yeah.
throwing the right arm, like hoping I can help. Like
I was telling our film guys because we're close with them, the specialists are. I was like, man, like I've gotten a lot better at my protection. Like I think like last year I was like really good at punt protection. This year I feel like even more like sound in like my form and like being able to pick up different rushes and stuff like that. And so, I was ready, like, not no fear going into it. Like I can pick up anything. And then this week we got a punt blocked and it came from the right B gap. And I'm like, I was like, I'm ready for anything in that because they normally pick on the A gaps on the snapper because their head's down. But I'm like, hey, they see a vulnerability on the right side of the line, nowhere near me. I was like, fuck, I'll take it. Like I'll have an easy few weeks till they get that right,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
through that. I just kind of a little compliment without, that is always
Yeah.
the best though. And they're like, yeah, it's like after a few weeks, usually like the past 2 years, they kind of start getting away from the A gaps.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll always try it, and then like you're right. Like once they figure out it, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
my thing is like PAT sucks, but if you can just do it the right way and do it well for the first few weeks, then usually it kind of eases up on you a little bit.
yeah, I'm sure coaches have told you guys this, but like when you're watching film on a defense, what our coaches have told us is like the first thing you want to watch to see like the DNA of like an opposing defense is field goal block.
Yep.
Because if they start out hard, but then by the third field goal or PAT, they start to peter out. It's like if you guys start to get an edge on them, like they're gonna give up,
Yeah.
and you guys are gonna be successful on offense. But like, dude, there are teams that like their first field goal block looks like their last field goal block, and
The
like
Navy midshipman
dude, every fucking rep, there are
service
like
members.
2 or 3 guys on their back, and it's like
Yeah.
you're like, get ready, this
Yeah.
game's gonna suck.
It's
But
gonna be a
like,
grinder.
yeah, but that's what I've always heard D coordinator or like O coordinators look at is like effort on field goal block.
Hell yeah.
Actually, pretty smart. I'm gonna start looking at that.
I got one last question. I
Yeah.
don't know if Colby's asked you this. What's that process like? Because I've seen obviously all the other positions, but I haven't seen long snapping. So what's that process like, I guess, going into the draft or finding your way into the league?
It's hard. Like going into my senior year, I think I was like, I saw on your bio, Colby, you were like third or fourth team on Phil Steele's preseason All-American or whatever. I think my senior year I was second. And I had agents hit me up as soon as that list came out. And I was like, dude, I didn't think I was gonna have to even think about this yet. I have a few funny stories about that. But I went to a good, Michigan State was very successful during my time. There was like a lot of eyes on a lot of our players. So I knew like we were going to have like every scout at pro day. So I wasn't really worried about that, but it was just like the preparation of like, I think it's a little different now. I think kids are learning how to get laces on field goals more now in college and like preparing for college. That wasn't really a thing when I was like going through like the high school camps and stuff like that. Even, the only person who even mentioned it to me was like kind of our special teams overseer. He was basically the special teams babysitter. He was like our player engagement guy. He was an older Italian dude. His son was one of my teammates. He was a gangster. He was awesome. He was like a father figure too. So he was like, in the NFL, like the long snappers have to like control where the laces are. I was like, you're just now telling me this. So like I tried to kind of like figure it out. I had no direction really, but then the camps that you go to, like the Zoner camps or whatever, when you're getting ready for the NFL, really taught like the fundamentals of how to get the laces right. And I would say that's like probably one of the biggest hurdles to the NFL. The other one is just actually having to block. All the teams now run that spread punt. We called it herd punt. There's like 2 or 3 yards in between each guy on the line, and the
Yep.
snapper can just snap it and run downfield, which I love during college. But it's a totally different ball game when you have like legit pass rushers in the A gap. Your head's down. They can shift while your head's down, and like so much shit can happen. So yeah, the process. I mean, I had a few different coaches calling me pre-draft, pre pro day and stuff. In my year, the Lions drafted a kid out of Baylor, and he like competed with Don Molbach, and then had a shoulder injury at the end of camp. And then the next year competed with him and lost and got cut. And I will tell you this. I think there might be 5 people in the entire NFL who know how to scout long snappers, like long snapping
Yeah.
talent. It is like, I honestly feel like I could make a good chunk of change like post NFL career. Like the few coaches I've been around who have like gotten higher level jobs, like, dude, if you're ever a head coach or like a coordinator, like if you need a long snapper or you're gonna need a long snapper in 2 to 3 years, like call me. I will watch every bit of
Yeah.
tape for you. But like the shit that's so maddening was like it happened when I was at the Packers. Like I got signed as a long snapper, and then they signed a tight end that they were gonna make into a long snapper. He was more athletic than me. He was a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, and he sucked at long snapping. And I get cut 3 weeks into OTAs, and they keep him all training camp trying to do this science experiment with him, and it failed miserably, and he never saw the NFL again. And he was a really nice guy. We got drunk together a lot in Green Bay because that's all there is to do to up there. Um, but yeah, my story. I mean, the only reason I hung on so long is because I felt like each opportunity I got, kept learning something new. And I told myself, I was like, I'll stop trying to make the NFL once I stop learning
Yeah.
things on these workouts, like even just the tryouts. I'm like, hey, please tell me, what do I need to work on? What did you see? I got so tired of hearing like, when you get your chance, like we think you're gonna last a long time in this league. I heard that for a really, really long time. And it's funny because it actually took me like 4 years, like I guess it took me like 3 years to stick, but it took me like 3 years to finally like, I hear this on every workout. Like, is this a lie that they tell everybody? Because like I believed it, and like,
Mhm.
now it did turn out to be true, fortunately enough. But like I've improved so much since I was even doing those workouts. Um, but yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is like blocking. Like I remember I did a workout in like 2018 with the Patriots, and like Joe Judge was like, he was like, "Hey, we're not going to sign you to training camp," but he was like, and I'm being honest, like, he's very blunt and borderline an asshole, but he was like, "Hey, me, like if I tell you something, like I mean it. Like if you need," he goes, "I know you've been a free agent for a while. If you need to get a job," he was like, "I think you're good enough to where you just snap a few times a week." He goes, "Your blocking is good enough to where as these kids come out of college, they're not going to be able to fuck with you. And as long as you keep going on these workouts, like it's eventually going to happen." And like that one, when he said you can get a job if you need to, like you're good enough as long as you keep your skill level up enough. I was like, shit, okay, like he
Yeah, I'm gonna
wouldn't
keep going.
he
Yeah.
that and that guy would not bullshit me.
Yeah.
I do think there's some coaches and scouts that kind of BS you, like, yeah, keep it up, man, keep it up. But like when he said that, I was like, damn, he like actually legit is like looking out for me. So yeah, I mean, I just kept up with it, and yeah, I mean, there were a lot of ups and downs, and it was bullshit, and I don't recommend it for everybody. But yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth. I have these conversations with my wife mostly when I'm wine drunk with her, but I'm like, you know, you hear everybody say, chase after your dreams, and like, what if it never worked out for me? Like people would have called me an idiot. I would have felt like an idiot. Like it was because it was like so hard. Like it was so hard and trying. Like I'll tell you one more story, and this kind of encompasses what it's like to be a free agent long snapper. Like there's 32 jobs, and that's it. And and I had this conversation with a few of our guys this week. Is if you look at the top, like the number one long snapper in the NFL, and it's hard to really rank it, but if you look at the top three guys and compare that with the bottom 10, the disparity between number one and number 32 in the NFL, it's shocking. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, and I'm definitely not calling specific people out, but there's people that are snapping in the NFL that shouldn't be. But I felt that way when I was a free agent. I'm better than this guy. And like they're not in the NFL anymore. And like the NFL will expose people, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But like the worst thing that where I was like, dude, doing this fucking sucks. I had just moved in with my girlfriend, who's my wife and the mother of my children now. And I went on a workout to San Francisco. Their snapper got popped for PEDs, I think it was. So I was there with 5 snappers. It was me, Colin Holba, John Kondo, a, and 2 rookies. So I guess there were 6 of us. Um, we all went to go snap, and then we come in for lunch, and then they told the 2 rookies to leave, so they got them a plane ride home. Then me and the 2 other guys, so it was just me. Yeah, it was just me and 3 of us. It was me, John Kondo, who was like a 12-year veteran for the Raiders at that time, and then Colin Holba, who was drafted by the Steelers and then cut like a year later. um we sit at the doctor's office for like 3 hours. It took forever to get our physicals. Then we're like chilling in the building. And then they told us, we're not making a decision tonight. We're sending everybody back home. I was like, all right, well, that sucks. So I'm like back home like a day or two later, and I'm scrolling on my phone, and I would just search long snapper on Twitter and just see whatever updates would come up, whether it was injuries or someone getting cut or a bad snap or something. And it came up, John Kondo signs with Atlanta Falcons. And I was like, fuck. I was like, damn, like I didn't even know they needed somebody. And I was down, and then I like laid on my couch, and not even 10 minutes later I refresh it, and it was like 49ers signed Colin Holba. And I just broke down in tears, and like it was such a sickening moment because I kept going on these workouts, and it was either guys who have played a few games that were good enough to be on a roster for a short period of time, or these old vets who were like on their way out, or they got hurt and let go, and like guys who could do it. I kept going on these workouts with these guys. I was like, fuck, if I'm going on these workouts with these guys, like it must mean I'm doing something right. But then I was so close. I was one of the 3 guys left on that workout, and then both get signed within 15 minutes of each other. And I'm still on my fucking couch, like
Mm.
watching like whatever it was, like Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. And I'm like, God damn it. Like it was just like, and at that point I had been trying for like 3 years, and it was just so defeating. And like, just just being honest, like being a free agent fucking sucks for just all of those reasons. And there's like no other point to the story other than like you just got to like control what you can control. And like I said, like if you feel like you're not learning or you're not growing at whatever it is you're doing, then that's maybe when it's time to make a change with something. I had an ex when I first got started trying to make it into the league, and it had been a calendar year since I had graduated college. And she goes, "Oh," and I had gotten cut from the Packers in like early May. And she goes, "All right, so you're gonna get a job now?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "You said you were gonna give the NFL thing a year. Like, are you gonna go get like a real job?" I was like, no. Like,
Hmm.
and to be honest, like my life was not easy at that point in time. I was living in my parents' basement and they were giving me like 50, $75 for groceries every week. And I was just eating like dried chicken breast and rice. I was in the best shape of my life because that's all I was eating, but it's all I could afford. So yeah, I mean, life as a free agent long snapper is not easy. It got a little bit easier after I played like 4 games for the Packers and then broke my foot because I got the IR money. So I had like a good chunk of change. Like I could live with my girlfriend and split rent and pay for training. And like I was self-sustainable for a while. But like even being able to like pay for your livelihood, like your living arrangement, like you're just watching your money decrease. It's not
Mm.
going back up. Am I ever going to get another shot in the NFL? Like I had a broken foot. How I thought I was going to be a shoe in to another opportunity whenever I recovered, but like it didn't turn out that way for the 2018 season. I had 5 workouts and nothing to show for it. And then yeah, the ball kind of started rolling after that. OTAs with the Giants, training camp with the Giants, got cut on cut day. 2 days later, flew to Miami, worked out, replaced their 15-year vet for I don't know why the coach cut him. Played 16 games. That year was horrible. I wanted to quit playing football. That was Tank for 2 a year in Miami. Flores' first year.
Mm.
Mm.
Hated my special teams coach. Still hate that guy to this day. Um, yeah, I wanted to quit playing football. And then you get there, you try so hard to stick in the league. And then I pull into the parking lot and I'm looking, I would like add up my salary and break it down like per week, per day, per hour I had to be in the building. And I'm looking at this number and be like, is this worth it? Like I hated playing football. I was like, I worked this hard for this many years for this. Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? And it sucked. And then thank God during COVID and during that draft, they drafted a long snapper and cut me the next day because a huge weight was lifted on my shoulders. Long story short, got signed week 4 of 2020 with the Niners and 3 NFC championships, Super Bowl appearance. And I love going into work every day. Like the building in San Francisco is like amazing. I love all the support staff. Like I actually look forward to going in every single day, even though if even when it's training camp and I know it's going to be like a shitty practice, like there's not much not much else better than that.
Oh
Kind of
yeah.
went on
Hey
a
man,
long
you come a
tirade
long
there.
way from the. It's a
Yeah.
long journey. Oh
Yeah.
And you never quit.
yeah,
No.
facts.
That's
Facts.
crazy
Crazy
shit.
dude. Life of a spec, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
It's tough.
Colby, you ready?
Yeah. Let's give it a shot, baby. You know,
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go. If you need anything, let me know. Don't forget
appreciate that.
you you're coming for the food that's on my family's table, dog. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. You're kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
there's
good. I'm secure here. No, that
yeah.
was the best thing when I was in camp with the Giants. I was competing with Zach Diassi, who was a 13-year vet. He was awesome. There was no like shittiness at all. He truly just wanted to help me. So if that ever happens, which the way it is in San Francisco, Kyle wants as many roster spots for offensive guys as possible. So if he doesn't have to have 2 long snappers in here, he's not going to have one. So I'm not going to give
Yeah.
him a reason to bring in another one.
Yeah.
True.
It's true. There's a few like I guess long snapper transitions where even like it raises my eye. I'm kind of like, why?
Yeah.
But it seems like what there was 2 rookies last year and there's 2 rookies this year, I think.
I'm not sure. I thought the rookie who was with Arizona this training camp, I thought he was really, really good. I was like incredibly impressed with his film, and this is not an indictment on the snapper that's there, but I was like shocked when they cut the rookie.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I thought he looked really great. And I do not DM people about it, but like when I watched his film and I saw he got cut, I was like, I had to DM on Instagram. I was like, hey, keep it up because like it's hard to find rookies that are good enough to play. And I was like, I think you got it. Like, just wait for your opportunity. And I haven't seen his name anywhere, but he looked good. Might be
Yeah.
a little short, but he looked good.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning into another episode of Triple Crown Podcast with your host, Jonah Gamble, Colby Cox, and Joseph Temp. Big shout out to Taybor Pepper for coming on the podcast today, telling us about his story, his journey, just sharing wisdom as a vet in the NFL, how to manage your money, stuff like that. So I really appreciate you coming on, Tabor.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. You have a
appreciate
great
it.
day,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you. That was awesome.
Triple Crown Podcast, baby, with Jonah Gamble, Joseph Temp, and Colby Cox.
Oh yeah. Tell everybody. Tell the whole world.